Hello and welcome to the big picture. The crisis in the Aam Aadmi Party has only got worse. The National Executive meeting held yesterday, as expected, removed two of its stalwarts, Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan, from its Apex Political Affairs Committee and rejected the resignation of Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. Kejriwal had offered his resignation on the post of National Convener. The ouster of these two stalwarts, apparently because Kejriwal had refused to work with them in the PAC, has raised a storm among the Aam Aadmi Party members and volunteers across the country. The party now looks hopelessly divided and factionalized. The party, which had raised huge hopes, especially following the spectacular victory in the Delhi Assembly elections last month, now looks a shadow of itself. Is this the beginning of the end of the party, as some predict? Or will this ouster of the two stalwarts result in Kejriwal being able to steer the party into a stronger position? What kind of a party will it look like in the future, and whether it will be able to retain the enthusiasm and commitment of its volunteers? We will discuss all this today with Vipul Mudgal, a senior journalist, Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times, and Venkitesh Ramakrishnan, associate editor of the Frontline magazine. Welcome to all of you. By the way, I have to say here that despite our best efforts, we could not get anyone from the Aam Aadmi Party to appear on this show. Vipul? How do you look at this entire thing which was enacted yesterday? It was all, does it look like it was all pre-planned?
You see, the drama is over, but the dust has not settled. It's very clear that this is going to go on for some time. It's a disquiet which is going to continue. One thing is very clear, that Arvind Kejriwal was directly involved in removing these people, because there was a time...
Despite his absence from the meeting.
Absolutely. It has come out in Mayank Gandhi's letter today. He has actually made it very clear, and it's very decently, very nicely written letter, which also probably retains some hope. And it says that the bottom line in the meeting was that these two should be removed from PAC and they should be given a chance to resign. So Prashant Bhushan and Yogendra Yadav decided that they'll step down, and they said that you reconstitute the PAC and there'll be fresh elections and we will not contest. And you can do it right away. And this was some reactions at the moment, when this was made, some reactions were, oh, you are very generous, you're very good, it's very large-hearted of you. And then, after about 5 minutes, everything changed, and they said, no, you have to be removed from the party because you've lost the, confidence of Delhi Election Committee and the National Convener and the PAC and the National Executive and things like that. And then, the rest of it. Then the second thing is that also very clear that the party is not in a hurry to address the issues. What are the issues? Why can't they just come clean? They can make a great beginning by just disclosing the minutes of the meeting. And after that, address the issue of transparency, address the issue of ticket distribution to the candidates who have now become MLAs. Address those issues. Those papers are all there. They were, the cases were brought before the Lokpal of the party.
That's right. One of the things Venkatesh said was, if you go by Mayank Gandhi's letter, there is still hope. Do you think there is any hope?
Well, I think, it's too early to kind of write off a fledgling party in spite of the troubles. I mean, I would like to repeat what Kejriwal himself had said, during the campaign of the Lok Sabha elections, and when this question of people with divergent ideological perceptions, people with, differing perspectives on how to build up the party, I would like to repeat, I've said this earlier in the show, and I would like to repeat that this is Shivaji ki Bharat. And right. But then the kind of, even at that point of time, 2 days ago when we were discussing this, I had said that, that it seems at that point of time, Kejriwal had the role of a Shivaji. He was not exactly a Bharati, but then, in this crisis, he has kind of descended himself to the role of a Bharati. He himself has been playing. So, he needs to get away from that. Not only he.
No, the other day before yesterday, when we were discussing this, you were hoping that he would end up as a Shivji and not a Bharati. But now, does he look like a faction leader?
No, that is what I said. Whether he likes it or not, the way his supporters, especially the kind of drum boys who have come up around him, I don't want to name anybody. I think they have already made him a faction leader. They've kind of stamped him as a faction leader. And the kind of credibility that he used to have earlier, among the top leadership, among large sections of the support base, I think there is certainly a major
erosion?
Major dilution in that.
Dilution. Vinod Sharma? Dilution in the, does he emerge now as a faction leader? And then we will come to the aspect of what these two leaders, Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan, can do or will do or expected to do. But as far as Kejriwal is concerned, and when you look at the letter of Mayank Gandhi, which Vipul was talking about, how does Kejriwal emerge?
No, first of all, it has to be discussed at two levels. One, that there is a problem in the Aam Aadmi Party. And that it is a problem quite similar, strikingly similar to problems that other parties with brute majorities have faced during their tenure, be it the case of Rajiv Gandhi or be it the case of, to some extent, the present dispensation at the center. And if you see that some of the people who were resisting the leadership that had arrived, they were sidelined, and though they were given positions that were purely sort of ornamental, like, senior citizen council, or call it, Margdarshak Mandal, whatever you want to call it. But what is most worrying, Nikam, and it's being missed by most analysts, is the lack of trust and near impossibility of regaining that trust.
Exactly.
When stings happen,
serious trust deficit. There is a serious trust deficit.
And if I have this fear that my conversation might be recorded, I would not be, sort of making a clean breast of it. I wouldn't be speaking in very clear terms, I'd be mostly hedging, circumventing issues, talking in innuendos, sort of metaphorically and in many other ways. And this breakdown of communication at the top level in any political party.
Apparently we are told that these two, one of the two, either Yadav or Prashant Bhushan, tried to seek a one-to-one meeting with Kejriwal yesterday or day before yesterday, but it did not come through.
Even one-to-one meeting, maybe they'd be going out and talking in the gardens and not in the room.
I am not talking in the context of your phone conversation, but generally.
They tried. They sought,
the trust deficit is so much that
they gave a sensible proposal, which appeared to me sensible, which is that have fresh elections for the executive or the PAC, Political Affairs Committee. Now, it was a sensible proposition, and both of them said we'll opt out. Now, perhaps Kejriwal saw in this an attempt to capture top decision-making bodies of the party, which will leave him hugely hamstrung. From his standpoint, you can rationalize that, in a situation where there are deep divisions, there are deep fissures, and a high level of distrust. This could possibly be happening. You see, till now the focus has been on what Kejriwal is doing and what his supporters are doing. But there is also some case against the so-called dissidents as well, especially the conduct of Mr. Shanti Bhushan, who in the middle of elections went out of the way to praise the chief rival of Kejriwal, which was Kiran Bedi. Now, I see no reason why Mr. Shanti Bhushan be making that kind of a statement so much too.
But he made amends to that later in the last few days.
He's making amends. Listen, mate, if in term, a friend in need is a friend indeed,
Okay.
And in times of need, he was cocking a snook at him. That's also a reality.
Okay. Vipul, the question is this, if you're looking at it, we should try to look at it from Arvind Kejriwal's point of view, which Vinod also was trying to say, that, there was this huge trust deficit created by Shanti Bhushan first and others. So, you think that Kejriwal was justified to a certain extent to have this kind of doubts in his mind about these people?
I think Kejriwal is torn. He is torn between a new voter that he's got, the lower middle class person in Delhi, and he's looking at the similar kind of vote profile in rest of India and the people who have formed his party. Now he can actually secede from those people whose hopes and aspirations have formed a party called Aam Aadmi Party, which is going to be completely different from any other political party, which is going to have different kind of donations, which is going to have decentralization, devolution of party powers within the party.
Now, are you trying to say that now he feels that he can do without these people?
He can do without the cadres who have come from the mass movements. people who have come from various backgrounds and who are pressing for transparency, he can ask them to go. And he, so long as, like a very senior leader, Chaudhary Devilal used to say, vote to mere naam pe aa raha hai, aur tum mujhe ideology kyun padha rahe ho? So if I'm getting the vote...
Do you see a parallel to that kind of situation?
I think, you see, political adages, I find them very interesting. It makes strange bedfellows and the politics, absolute power corrupts absolutely. All those political idioms, I think, apply all over the world.
Absolutely. And now we are joined in by Anjali Bharadwaj, Secretary of the National Campaign for People's Right to Information. Somebody who has worked with Arvind Kejriwal, who understands his mind probably better than most of us here. Anjali, we were discussing the same issue day before yesterday. You were hoping that, some of the underlying principles on which this party had been created would be honored. But do you think that it was honored? Now when you look back?
Yeah, well, Girish, I think what's really important to remember is that when one talks about changing politics, and let's understand that Aam Aadmi Party from the beginning has said, "Hum rajniti karne nahi aaye hain, rajniti sudharne aaye hain."
Right.
So when you come into politics with that sort of a refrain, you come in saying that, and you ask people for votes on that particular tenet, it's important to think of what are the things that people find a problem in current politics and mainstream politics. The three sorts of problems that that come up in one's mind when one talks about the political problems in the country today, in the parties today. One is political funding, dubious sources. Second is candidate selection, that good candidates are not made to stand. Third is inner party democracy, what we've been calling the family rule or one party leadership and so on. Now, never mind who raises these issues, but if these issues have been raised, I think it's very important for Aam Aadmi Party to address those issues. And if they are not addressed, I think it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing for the people who voted them in, and it doesn't bode well for the future of the party. Because I think that some of these issues are exactly the sort of things that people were looking at Aam Aadmi Party to address. And if they fail to do that, I think it will be a huge loss for the party and for the electorate who repose their faith in that party, which promised to be a party with a difference.
Right. Venkatesh, those are exactly the points which people, if you see the social media, if you see the kind of reactions coming from the party supporters and the volunteers in thousands across the country, there is this huge disappointment. How do you think Kejriwal will be able to overcome this?
Beats me, actually. See, he has walked a path. Yes, in politics, you choose a path, and if you choose that path, to retract that, it may be very easy on the face of it, but then in a context like this, I think this path has been treaded a little too far to make any retraction or to kind of come back. Especially because the biggest problem I find with Kejriwal's style of functioning is not only his inability to communicate with the others, with especially the two top leaders who have been now removed from the political advisory committee. What I see is that there is a kind of clique that has got around him, which talks in very hostile language, which talks in almost irrational,
which is not expected from a party like this.
Yeah. So I honestly, I do not know in terms of political practice what exactly, unless he completely comes down and climbs down and apologizes to the people just as he apologized for the resignation.
No, but Venkatesh, my question is this: you think that there is something more than what we have already heard and read about what has happened in the party? Is there something more, or is there something more which is based on ideological problems, or is it that there has been some personal, the personal clashes has reached such a stage that it has reached this kind of a breakdown has happened?
Honestly, Girish, in the absence of any clear information as to what has happened, we started hearing about these differences immediately after the Lok Sabha elections.
Right.
When, the idea of contesting in so many seats was questioned by Arvind Kejriwal and his close associates. And from what I heard, Yogendra Yadav was perhaps one of the guys who was instrumental in kind of advancing this idea of contesting in so many seats. He accepted this. he wanted to bring the party to focus on limited seats and limited areas and limited geographical spaces and limited spaces in terms of sociological reach. But then even at that point of time, he was expecting that the Aam Aadmi Party would be contesting in Haryana at least in a few seats in order to...
For the state assembly elections.
Yeah, because the performance of the Aam Aadmi Party in the Lok Sabha elections, though they did not get any seats, it was quite significant for a party that had just come into the electoral fray. They got about 7% of the votes. Yeah.
No, Vinod, my question is this. We need to look back. Look at precedents. You have seen several parties coming and going and several leaders coming and going and things like that. In this kind of a situation, after this kind of developments which has happened in the party, do you expect Kejriwal to sort of look back, be able to? Will he be in a position to rediscover, reinvent himself as a Democrat, as more of a Democrat than what he is seen now as?
Look, this party is a fledgling party still. Though it has assumed power in Delhi, it has got power, big responsibility in Delhi. I personally thought that Mr. Yogendra Yadav was abysmally wrong in managing to sell his line of contesting seats across India. Had the Aam Aadmi Party limited itself to Punjab, Haryana and Delhi, they would have today had about 15 members of parliament in the Lok Sabha. No. Having said that,
yes.
You see,
no, but ultimately the party took a decision.
It is not that's okay. What I am saying is, it is also a fact that Kejriwal wasn't his first impulse, but he went along with the broader consensus. That's also a fact. Now let's give the devil his due. You see, let's go back to the India against corruption, time. At that time, there were strong rumors, and they had some basis to it. Yeah, you know that at one time when Anna Hazare was on a fast, and there was word which was going around that some people didn't want him to break the fast, or maybe wanted him to sort of kick the bucket, so that they could, that their campaign could gain the kind of momentum that would capture the mind of India. Look, where Kejriwal is losing the plot is that this party had set out to capture the mind of India, which it did to a large extent in perceptional terms, and could translate that into a victory, into a good performance first in Delhi and then into a victory in Delhi. Now, the same very perception is getting dented with every passing day. In a party democracy doesn't mean that you don't talk to each other or talk at each other, and rather than talking to each other, talk to the people and start addressing also directly to the people. Now, that kind of inner-party democracy is suicidal, because no organization can be run without a degree of hierarchy, a chain of command. There has to be a chain of command, not a pernicious chain of command, not a coercive chain of command, but there has to be a chain of command. And if you're not willing to respect that chain of command, that you're a born renegade, then I'm sorry, you have no place in a
disciplinary organization. You can't have gag orders, Vinod. You can't have gag orders.
Gag orders.
Gag orders for everybody. Nobody can speak.
No, today,
everybody is speaking.
No, but today nobody has come on the program.
After that gag order,
that's not
that blog.
Anyway, that's not the point. No, Vipul, my question is this. Let us try to focus on this. There was this voting which took place yesterday, which normally doesn't happen in political parties, or even if it happens, we don't get to know what happens. You think that that kind of democracy itself can become self-defeating for the party, now that everything is out in the open, who has voted for whom, who has not voted for whom?
So you think the two parties which must be celebrating today is the BJP and the Congress.
Absolutely. I think Congress more than the BJP. I think because they have nothing to lose.
No, why there?
They have nothing to lose. You see,
what is good about the BJP with the Congress?
I tell you.
I'm sorry.
No.
Both are equally happy.
Perfectly all right. Okay. Maybe.
There will be more parties who may be happy. That's not the point. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is that internal democracy we talk about. The voting which took place is part of which was apparently forced. It was not that it was offered that everybody will vote and decide on this. Apparently, both Yogendra Yadav and
I think a consensus was reached. Consensus was very clearly reached that we want you out, and they said, okay, we are willing to get out. You are giving us a face saving, and there was a lot of wool which was being spread around, which was being intentionally spread around to say that, no, this is the reality. They've been offered Maharashtra and internal Lokpal.
No, that is not the point.
This and that. You see, the answer to your question is that what kind of culture are you promoting? Are you promoting a culture of fairness? You see, leadership will not happen without fairness. If you are the leader, you say that, okay, whoever has gone wrong, but the fact is that, there is a sizable section of the party which believes in transparency. Let us forget the individuals, let us address the issues. And let us address the issue of donation, those 50 lakh, 4 checks, etc. Let us address the issue.
So that, rightfully you
and
also
then
pointed out...
One very small point, Girish, that if there are human bombs moving around, everybody with a tape recorder and with a camera, and everybody is taping everybody and keeping that tape for the right moment to emerge 8 months later. I think that it's a very dangerous culture that is spawning.
It's a dangerous culture, but this is what Arvind Kejriwal
to the people. No. That sting
operation
was the most empowering instrument they offered to the people of India and Delhi.
And the volunteers
did not against that even then.
So because the volunteers used it against themselves.
It was the politics of fear. Girish, we discussed it once, if you remember, and I said that politics of fear has a very limited value. It has to be politics of trust. Politics of trust alone is a long duration game,
Okay, Anjali, the question now is, will this party, the kind of enthusiasm which was shown across the country for this party, the kind of donations which kept pouring in from different parts of the country and also across the world, now how do you think the volunteers and the workers of the party will be reacting to this? Do you think that the same kind of enthusiasm which we saw for the party, Kejriwal will be able to retain that?
Well, Girish, I think for a lot of people, the question is not whether Aam Aadmi Party will be successful in the future electorally or not. That might be or might not be, that is for time to tell. I think the real question is it going to be the party that it set out to be, that it promised to be, and will it be a party with a difference? And I think that is the real question, and that is the real challenge before the party today. As it moves forward in going into the future, if it wants to continue to have the trust of the people, if it wants to continue to set itself apart from the other mainstream political parties, like Vinod said, like Vipul said, BJP, Congress, if it wants to set itself apart from them like it claimed to, then it will need to address the issues squarely. It will need to address the issues of how open it is to questioning, how does it treat people who bring up uncomfortable issues, but issues that are important, that are relevant, that are fundamental to the values that the party said that it espouses. I think the issue of transparency, the issue of accountability, finally, if Aam Aadmi Party is going to say that, look, in politics, this is not possible, I think that's going to be a very dark day for the people of this country. Because one of the reasons why people greeted them with so much enthusiasm was that they thought that here is a party that has come out of the transparency movement, of the accountability movement. Let's put them there and they will show a different way of doing things. Now, if this party fails to do that, if this party indeed says that we are now in mainstream politics and therefore, I'm sorry, we cannot be transparent about our funding, we cannot be transparent about how we function, about our internal discussions and so on, I think that's going to be a huge statement and it's going to be a very...
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
You know, when there were charges against Mayank Gandhi, that lady from Gujarat, Maharashtra, and against the Bhushans, there was an internal inquiry headed by Justice Shah, if I am not wrong. Was it to that inquiry, did anybody see any emphasis on that inquiry? Did anybody hear any debate on that inquiry? The people who today who are raising the flag and are trying to point out that this party is digressing from its stated principles, especially the funding question and others, they were themselves the beneficiaries of a huge obfuscation. Now, there wasn't an honest inquiry against any one of them. At least in the public domain, it did not come the way it should have come and discussed.
So, what is the point?
What is the point?
The point is,
1 second.
The point is that on the question of funding, if Kejriwal faction, now he's a factional leader, if Kejriwal faction is found to be compromising and obfuscating, then I think his career is almost over.
Okay.
But on other issues like candidatures and inner party democracy, these are grey areas on which he perhaps has an elbow room, but on funding he has no elbow room. Given his own
and my response to you, Vinod, also is that, which is precisely why I said that we should leave who is raising what issue at any point in time. I think the important thing is the issues are very critical. What are they? Are they being addressed? If somebody says that there are shell companies putting in large amounts of money, then is there an inquiry that is being set up?
Absolutely. I think you have made a
If there are 12 candidates, if there are 12 candidates whose backgrounds are dubious, is the internal Lokpal is saying that they are, is any action being taken, or only winnability is going to be the criteria? If there is a one man or one person who's leading the whole thing, is that a problem, or is there going to be some kind of democracy, even if there is a hierarchy which is laid out? With, I think these are important issues.
I'm in complete agreement with Anjali. And I think, whatever be the opinion of, people who have been following politics for so many years, like Vinod, and even I've been following politics, a little less for lesser years than, what I'm saying is, that what Anjali says is very, very correct. That, Aam Aadmi Party came into being as a party which was kind of opposed to, which was diametrically opposite the...
No, we have discussed that, but my question now is, do you think that they'll be able to come back to that path of what they promised that party will be, or you think that they are now hurtling towards being just another party, another party in the horizon in this country?
I would say this. I do not know what exactly is going to happen in the future. I would say this, unless and until these tendencies which have come up in the party, which have kind of, aggravated after the victory in the Delhi Assembly elections, of making the party revolve around the personality of Arvind Kejriwal. If that is not, and there are some sections of the party which are very assiduously working towards that. If that section is not controlled, if they are not put in their place, I think Aam Aadmi Party will also end up like any other party.
But you must understand
Vinod, quickly, we are running out of time.
Given the tough principles that they set for themselves, made them vulnerable even to such insinuations like travelling by business class, getting upgraded, or Mr. Arvind Kejriwal taking a holiday with his family to a foreign destination. Now, you must also factor in the kind of adversary you have and the levels to which he can stoop. May I say one thing?
Vinod,
please don't render unto Caesar which is not Caesar's. And in this case, the politics, the way it is played in our country, you have to brazen out on certain things,
but
not your core principles. Not your core principles. So long as you keep your core principles intact, that is
the question. Vipul, are the core principles intact after all this? And is there any way in which they can be regained?
Of course there is. You see, there are a lot of right-thinking people within the party. The problem is that they are not being given any importance.
That's the problem. So, what happens now? What happens to those people who have voted in favor of Prashant Bhushan, and will they get the kind of importance, or will they get any positions where they'll be able to influence the way party functions?
I think one approach would be to complete the fight to finish, which means that these people have been, this is a temporary respite that they've been thrown out of the PSC. They will have to be thrown out of the party if it is flowing directly out of Arvind Kejriwal. And the other approach is that you rename these people who are shouting from rooftop and saying that you are insulting the dear leader. Almost like he's not Arvind Kejriwal, but he's Mamta Banerjee, or he's Jayalalitha, or he's Ramvilas Paswan or Nitish Kumar. He's not. So
Modi.
Yeah, or Modi. Yes, absolutely.
I think to be fair.
Absolutely. So to rein in those characters and to say...
Or Rahul Gandhi.
Of course, Rahul Gandhi.
So rein in those characters and also come clean. There's a great opportunity. People
come clean. Okay.
And first thing is just disclose the minutes of this meeting. I think it's a great beginning to do.
Anjali, will they be able to come clean? Very quick answer.
I think they can. They have to have the will.
Okay. And I think
And at this moment, it's important that they confront the issues. They have come to power. They don't have another immediate election that they need to win or run into. They should set their house in order. There is every possibility to do that. And they should start by addressing the very issues that have been raised right now, never mind who has raised them.
Okay, I think on that note, we need to end. The final words of Anjali, I'm sure everybody in the panel will also agree. And let us hope and see what kind of a reform or, what is it that Arvind Kejriwal will do to revive himself, to put himself in before the people again and say that I am what I promised that I will be. Let's hope and see what will happen. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, the big picture, same time on Monday. Meanwhile, have a great Holi.